Welcome to the Realizations Podcast. I'm Andrea Gordon, your host, and I'm excited to explore the world of real estate with you. In a world where perceptions often overshadow reality, Realizations seeks to redefine what it means to be a realtor. Join me as we peel back the layers of the industry, uncovering inspiring stories and celebrating the good in real estate. Whether you're a homeowner, a fellow realtor, or simply curious, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Realizations, where perceptions meet reality. Let's dive right in. Welcome, everyone, to Realizations, the podcast with Andrea Gordon. And I'm here today with Syed Moshin. And he is a really incredible entrepreneur, real estate agent based out of the Metro Detroit area in Michigan. And I think that it is really well worth it to talk to him about his trajectory in real estate, what have you. As a reminder, Realizations is a podcast that I started in response to the NAR DOJ lawsuits and all the commission lawsuits because I thought it was so unfair and disrespectful of realtors. And rather than just being angry about it, I decided that I would create a podcast in order to educate the American people and agents who haven't been in the business very long about real estate and all the ways in which our lives intersect and are important to all of the communities that we serve. To this end, I've had city managers, heads of real estate corporations, inspectors, designers, other agents, marketing people, photographers, all sorts of people that we intersect with have come onto this show because I wanted for people to get an idea of the level of complexity that's involved in what we do. I've had attorneys on the show to talk to us about risk and also just the kinds of crazy situations that can happen. Because whenever you're dealing with a person in real estate, you're dealing with a person who is either, if they're an investor, they're mostly concerned about the bottom line. But if they are an owner user of a place, chances are you're meeting them at a point when they've had another baby, they've gotten divorced, their kids have gone to college, someone's died, someone's gotten a new job. These are all incredibly stressful pain points in people's lives. Even if it's a happy pain point, it's still stressful. And we as realtors have to navigate that along with all the other stuff that we have to do. So I thought it would be important to educate people about all of that. And to that end, I've been having people on all this last year, and it's been a really wonderful, wonderful ride. So Syed, please introduce yourself and tell us a little about you and how you came to be in real estate.
For sure. It's a pleasure being here. First of all, thank you for having me. Well, I came to this country about 18 years ago. We come from Bangladesh. My background, my ethnicity is Bangladesh. I grew up in Middle East. So when we first came here, I really didn't know what the life would look like. We had a completely different picture of America from Disney movies and Hollywood movies. And you can imagine coming straight into Detroit. I went to a Detroit high school my senior year, first year being here. I was a senior in high school. And our high school, I went to Pershing High School. It's in 7 Mile and Ryan in Detroit. It's like right in the middle of Detroit. And I only had one white person. Now, I'm not racist, I'm colored myself. But that was not the picture we were sold of America on movies. So that was a culture shock for me. I had to go through that. But I really give credit to that experience of me being successful in business and real estate because I started selling homes in Detroit. So me learning how to deal with that background of people really helped me in my business. Now, I started in business about 12 years ago, I would say. I had dropped out of engineering school here in Wayne State University. The auto industry here wasn't doing so well. Big Three filed bankruptcy at the time. I started seeing laid off professors, right? Engineers who are laid off that are teaching us to make an income. And I'm like, I'm never going to teach. So what's my future looking like? Around the same time, I read the book. My father bought the book Rich Dad Poor Dad from a garage sale.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I don't know what he was thinking. He clearly didn't know what the book was about, but he thought it would be a good book to give me to read because it says Rich Dad. And I read the book and I realized that I was working full time as a restaurant server, trying to make money to pay for school, parking, and all that stuff. I didn't have a full ride, even though I was a 4.0 student, because I came in, I didn't want to lose the years. So I went straight into senior year, so I didn't have the opportunity to apply for scholarship. So I'm like, I did the math and I'm like, okay, so this is 2.5 years into school, into my engineering school, and I'm doing the math. I'm like, okay, I'm making $1,200 a week. I'm making pretty good money working at this restaurant to be able to pay for school. That is not gonna make me money because I saw like, okay, how much does a beginner mechanical engineering major makes? $70,000 at the time, and I was like, that's not good enough money. I would be in debt when I'm out of school. So I'm like, okay, I
Hmm.
need to figure something out. So I started actually buying stuff online and selling stuff online. This is very beginning of e-commerce. This is 2009. And things start picking up, and from 2000, so I drop out of college that year. I made $20,000 online, and I'm like, this is amazing. I start buying phones and laptops and whatever I can get my hands on that I would think that has demand online. I would buy it off of Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, sell it on eBay and Amazon. Amazon didn't even exist back then; it was so small.
Right.
But anyway, fast forward 2012, I make enough money. I made more money than I ever made. Dropped out of college thinking that I'm a rich person. I'm like, I made it. Like I figured out a way to make money and have a future that didn't require a degree. And my parents really didn't like it. They kicked me out for 2 weeks. My background, our ethnicity, we don't really move out of home until we get married. But for them, it was uh, like I was a failure in life. I'm not getting a degree. Immigrant background, people usually getting the degree is the way of life. But anyway, fast forward 2012, start to look at real estate because real estate started coming back up, and I invest in a pre. It's like a foreclosure auction, not a pre-foreclosure auction, and I buy a property here in Detroit for $12,000. Go to the property after I win the auction, to check it out, and it's a vacant property. I don't even have the paperwork, the deed, and all that. I'm just checking it out, and someone pulls up and is like, "Hey, this house is going for sale, right?" I'm like, "No, I just bought it. I just won the auction." And he was like, "Well, I was bidding on the auction too. What did you buy for?" Turns out he was the one who was competing against me. And then he was like, "Well, what are you gonna do with it?" I said, "I don't know yet. I don't even. I'm trying to figure out real estate, right?" So I end up selling the house to him the next day for double what I bought it for. I bought it
Oh my
at
God.
7,500. I sold it to him for 25,000. And that was it for me. I was like, real estate is the way because what we were doing online was really what they call right now e-commerce arbitrage, where you would buy all this stuff from random places and sell it online. And it was a lot of work. Like even though it was money that didn't require putting in hours, but we were putting in hours. At the time when I got into real estate, we had a warehouse full of stuff. And we would a lot of stuff we would have to buy and hold to make profit on it. So it was like a slow cycle of
Right.
for me, the way I looked at it, I was flipping money. Like I was investing money and I was getting money out. I'm like, I would do the same thing in real estate and do it faster. So I get my license about like in my second property, I start reading paperwork and I'm like, real estate agent's making $2,000. That's my money he's making. 3,000. It's small properties, not big properties. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna save this money by getting licensed. So that's how I got licensed. Now, fast forward 2014, I get married, 2015, beginning of 2015, and things start getting tough for me as far as financially. I had all my savings spent, getting married, getting a place for ourselves. And, I joined Keller Williams, a local Keller Williams office. They start teaching
Mhm.
us, I'm like, okay, I need to learn how to make money with my license and learn the old school ways of generating business, cold calling, door knocking, networking, relying on sphere of
Mhm.
influence. And not saying they don't work. I was just a very introverted person. I still am. I call myself socially introverted. Now, it was very tough for me to go out there, get rejected by strangers. And as a newcomer into the country, we really didn't know a lot of people. And so initially, it was tough for me to get. I was a college dropout. All of my family members who knew me thought of me as a failure who dropped out of college, couldn't make it, even though I was a smart student. I don't know, people just think differently. So they didn't trust me. Like, we're gonna trust you and buying a home in a market where we don't know if we should buy. So I had to go after strangers. Eventually, I joined a brokerage here in Metro Detroit area. They were providing online leads. Zillow, Realtor.com. This is 2015. So this is like very, like even then, no one was doing that. But it was still tough for me to figure out how to convert them. Initially, I thought they don't work. But then I started seeing agents in the office like closing deals on the same leads that I'm getting that's not working for me. I'm like, okay, I have to figure it out. I was struggling financially in a way where I had to drive Uber to be able to pay bills. So I'm like, okay, I have to figure this out. There is no way out but to go all in.
Hmm.
But I see agents making money.
I want to stop you for a
So
second there. Did you
yeah,
hear what you just said, everybody? There was no way out but to go all in. I love that phrase
yeah,
because that's really, really the way out is always through.
yeah.
So
Yes,
there you go.
my back was against the wall. So I'm like, okay, what's the worst could happen if I go all in and not let my fears, I'm not good enough, I don't know what to do, hold me back. So I hire my first real estate coach, Tom Ferry organization, and they teach me how to talk to Zillow leads, how to convert and all of that. That year I sell 35 houses, following year 57, following year 65. And
Brilliant.
that was kind of like the beginning of me figuring things out. I don't know. Did I take you on a whole ride? But that's the
No,
story.
I love that. And I love the Tom Ferry organization. That's the coaching that I started out with. And I still work with a coach that I met through Tom Ferry, although she's out on her own, a woman named Vonda Martin. And
Oh,
I really, in fact, I use a production tracker, even though Compass has an amazing production tracker. I use the production tracker that I got through them because I just, enjoy using it. It's the way I like to do it.
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. So no, that was really excellent. And the idea, I mean, I want to point out, he just blithely said, I sold 35 houses, then I sold 50 something houses, then I sold 60 something houses. That is a lot of houses. That's being an ultra top producer. The average agent in America sells fewer than 12 houses a year, just to put it into some perspective. So that's pretty amazing there,
I
Syed.
mean, markets like California really don't, the agents in California I'm talking about, they really don't get it, right? Meaning at the time, now prices are high here in Michigan, but at the time, like I started off selling $10,000 houses. That was my first home I sold
Yeah.
$10,000. So, even though I'm saying 35, 57, 65, some agents might think it's a lot of money, but back then it wasn't. It
And
was
the
barely
irony is it's just as
breaking.
much work. It's
Yes,
just as much work.
it was a lot of work.
It's
Okay.
just as much work to sell a $10,000 house as it is to sell $100,000 house as it is to sell $1 million house.
Yeah. Clients are a little picky. I mean, little less picky because there's nothing to pick on. What you're buying is literally the dump.
Right.
So they're a little less picky, but it's the same amount. Actually, we show a lot more homes
Yes,
at
of
that price.
course.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would guess. And the other difference is that when you sell a house to someone who is really grateful that you do the work for them, they send you a present at the close of escrow. Whereas when you sell a house to people that expect everyone to give everything to them, you're
Yeah,
supposed to
that's
buy them a
true.
present.
That's true. That really helped me, like especially in my first 5 years, I would say majority of my business was in Detroit. Very, very low income families I was able to serve, and my school experience kind of helped with that, right? Because getting into school, trying to make it out, right? Trying to make it out, like when is this gonna be over? Because initially, like I was brought up in English medium school. So basically, the English they speak in England.
Yes.
So they speak differently, and I was speaking the same way. So when I first came here and I kind of learned how African Americans speak, I'm like, that's not English. Like I don't understand. This is a different language,
Right.
right?
It's a different
So
idiom. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So this is really wonderful. I love to hear self-made stories like this because, perseverance it pays off so profoundly, and it really did. The hard quality of the life that you had when you first got here really opened you up to the point where you were able to work as hard as you needed to get where you are today. And I understand that you have a team, and that you also have a national team, and that you also have a company called Boss Agents Academy. And
Mhm.
I wanted to hear about how all of that process happened for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess like my fifth year real estate, I thought I figured it out, right? Like I'm selling 60 houses a year and living my best life, being able to take vacations with my wife. You know, this it was about 3 years into us being married. And then everything changes when the brokerage I was with, it was a small mom and shop brokerage that got purchased by a Remax franchise, and they stopped providing for leads. And so I was back to square one. I lose my lead source. All the leads being provided with the brokerage goes away. But by then, I had at least figured out how to convert leads by buying leads. 90% of my business was coming from basically Zillow and Realtor.com. So I start paying for my own leads out of my own pocket because that's what I know. And but over time, I mean, anyone who has done Zillow Realtor.com leads, they back then, like 2017, it starts price starts increasing on the leads, like cost per,
Right.
and also the quality starts dropping because the platform starts sharing the leads with multiple agents.
No,
And
they really did a number on all of us. And I could go into a big political diatribe about Zillow, but
I'm all about
basically
that. Let's talk about it.
but basically a long time ago I used to spend $90,000 a year on leads.
Wow.
And then I would make about $98,000 a year on the sales that I made from the leads. The quality of the leads was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's really a matter of having faith in yourself and not being filled with fear. The
Yeah.
second my business tripled as soon as I completely canceled all my Zillow, by the way,
Mm.
just
Yeah.
so you know.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's because you started utilizing what you have rather than like focusing on what you don't have.
Exactly. Exactly. It's very hard to keep a business going when you have to
Yeah.
constantly chase after business. When
Yep.
you realize that the business is actually right at your fingertips with your sphere and with just your own innate skill set of how being able to deal with people and talk to anybody, you let go of that and you realize you don't have to pay for that stuff. But it's a
Yeah,
process.
there was definitely a lot of limiting beliefs, at least for me, right? Getting into the business, not having a big sphere. I wish I knew what I know now. I
Of
would
course.
have. There were years I was spending 120, $130,000 in leads, in cost per lead, and I had to once the cost started rising, I had to work longer and harder just to get a return on my investment. Even though like
Right.
I every year I track my income and my cost, 35%, 30 to 30, it was like clockwork, 30 to 35% of my money was going to Zillow and Realtor.com.
Yep.
And by then my wife and I had our first son, and I was barely spending any time with him. And he's 6 years old now, and for me to see a return on my investment, like I was almost like stuck in my business, right? Like I was spending the money in leads. So when a lead came in, I had to drop everything and go show a house, right? So yeah, even though I was making multiple six figures by then, year over year, I was burnt out. I was overweight, just plain tired of being stuck in the rat race, right? I felt like this is what they call hamster wheel, like literally.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I decided, you know what, enough was with the paid lead. I was determined to figure out how these online platforms are generating leads and how to turn those leads into real opportunity for me. How do I reach people online?
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew that online was the game, that was the future, right?
Right.
And without working 14 to 16 hours a day, I was literally sleeping 3.5 hours a day, like on the clock. Like I would three and a half
Oh,
hours,
poor baby.
every single day. So at first it was pretty tough trying to figure it out on my own. Watching trainings online, videos after videos. Okay, what are people doing? And just watching other people do what they do, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
just listed, open house and listings on the market, right? And plain old just copying from everyone else, right? And
Right.
without seeing any conversion. So I decided, you know what? I figured I came this far because of hiring a coach. Why am I not hiring a coach for learning marketing, right? So that's when I hired my first marketing coach, Russell Brunson, and they showed me. how to use online platforms to generate business in a way that didn't feel like begging for clients online or didn't require dancing on TikTok, right? It didn't exist. TikTok, thank God TikTok didn't exist back then, right? And or require spending money on ads, right? Because you could
Right.
still go your own lane and spend money on your own with these platforms. And I didn't just stop there. I went on this journey to learn from some of the world's best experts in marketing and personal growth. I've been in Tony Robbins' mastery program for a while now. And
Hmm.
by learning, I don't mean, just reading a book up from them or watching a training. I really spent over $600,000, I would say, by now with different mastermind groups I'm part of, different things I invested in. And that is how I developed the method we call a magnetic brand funnel system. It's a system that allowed me to generate and convert consistent opportunities in my own business without the traditional sales tactics to generate business. And not only that, I sold, I sold personally over 1,000 homes in my last 12 years, but 500 just based on since I learned this methodology. Without having to be stuck on a hamster wheel of the feast or famine model that most agents have.
By the
Uh,
way, I have to point out something. I've taken 27 years to sell 1,100 homes. The idea that you were able to
We're
sell
in a
a
different
thousand,
market. For me to make the same amount of money you do, I have to sell 10, right?
I know, but it's still the idea that you did that in 12 years blows my mind. So very, very wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I
I
hit
built
a,
my own team 4 years ago. This was COVID. So COVID was my
Mhm.
best year. I sold 90 homes. And
Yep, I think it was 2021 was everybody's best year, honestly.
yeah, yeah.
How many
2021.
people on your team?
Yeah, so back then I was so this is the story behind starting a team. November of 2020, I had my best year in real estate, and I catch COVID. I thought I'm dying. Like back then, we all thought like you get COVID, you're dying, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm stuck in my basement for 3 weeks. My kids and my kid and my wife didn't get it. So, but I had 30 active clients. 30 active buyers and about like 20 something listings. Like I used to maintain that level of business on any given month. I would be working with that many people, but I couldn't go out the house. And I'm like, you know what? I need to do. I need to help these people. They're gonna be stuck with me. If what if I die, right? So I started
Oh,
referring,
honey.
yeah, yeah. What if I started referring that business out to agents in my office?
Hmm.
And while I was stuck in home in COVID, I think I closed like 7 or 8 deals. And I was like, this is a game changer. What am I doing? Like running around. Like, why am I not doing this? So I hired my first team coach out of Texas. They're Chris Waters and Bradley Pounds. They wrote the book $1 Million Real Estate Team. And they taught me how to start a team from scratch. 2021, we sell 118 homes. By March of 2021, I get out of production. I recruit 17 agents into my team. Never doing that again. But I just to learn. I was like, okay, I need to master recruiting because that's what they teach. They teach like you have to constantly recruit agents. It's a numbers game. So
Hmm.
I go on this roller, but by May of 2021, I stopped recruiting. I was like, I'm not gonna recruit anymore. I'm gonna just work on these 17. Out of 17 agents, like six sold anything over the whole year. We still
Right.
ended up selling 118 homes without me having to be in production. I thought this was a significant accomplishment for me because I got out of the hamster wheel and I still made almost a little bit less because the cost of running a team is actually way higher than people think. But
Yeah.
still, it was for me, it was a win. And it all starts with, I would say, a magnetic brand system for people to be able to create that predictability in their business. And I would say, um, end of 2021, uh, other agents in the brokerage start reaching out to me. It's like, hey, what are you doing with your agents? They're looking different, they're marketing different. Can you teach us? And then I realized that, you know what? I have a framework, I have a way to
Of a
teach
system.
people something that they can repeat, right? I mean, I have taken multiple brand new agents. For me, initially when I started my team, brand new agents were better than older, more experienced agents because more experienced agents, they're just stuck with this mindset that I have to be salesy to get sales, right? Like it's
Hmm.
easier to teach not being salesy and be have that traction mindset to newer agents, right?
Well, also when you get a baby agent, they haven't developed any bad habits. Their
Yes.
egos are not heavily involved.
Yeah.
They just want to learn and suck up everything like a sponge. And
Yeah.
I work really hard to stay in what I call child's mind. It's kind of a Buddhist term, um, where I'm constantly
Empty cup. Yeah.
curious.
Empty cup. Yeah.
And it's hard. It's really, really hard because you get older and you get set in your ways. So
Yeah.
that's
It does.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah, so
so,
that's where Boss Agents was started. I was in September of 2021. I decided I went on this I would say a marketing slash networking event out in Florida, and I see my first big. I never looked at real estate coaches that way. My wife actually has me on recording in 2020 when I said I would never be a broker. I would never be a coach because I don't want to deal with agents that cannot figure out their SHIT, right? Like,
yeah.
how hard is this? Like, I was so, like, I became so driven, I got disconnected from what people usually get struggle with, right? So I'm like, I don't want to deal with people that struggle with motivation. Like, I'm not going to babysit. Then fast forward 4 years, I'm a broker, I'm a coach. These days, I'm really like everything that I do is right now I have a mini, I call it micro team. We teach that inside of the academy how to build micro team framework. Five agents in my team. I think I don't know. I lose count on that, but over 25 agents in our national team organization, and we have over 500 agents in the academy that train and coach. So our academy, my coaching,
Hmm.
really supports all phases of my business.
That's great because the people come out of the academy and then they potentially could join your national team.
Yeah,
And in the meantime, they're paying you money in order to learn what they're learning.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm curious about how you run a national team. What is involved in that? Because you're licensed in Michigan.
yeah.
How do you deal with the fact that you have people? Where are the people?
They're in different states. They're all in different states. So I guess like a national team is a fancy word of saying rev share organization. But I run it really little bit different. I don't like the whole rev share thing. I don't recruit agents. I don't pitch my because I've done that, right? I've been with EXP for 3 years almost, and I have initially like yes, I came here because of everything that I was doing just made sense, like cloud-based
Hmm.
program. I'm running remotely, or I had already ran remotely for 2 years before I came to EXP. So it was like common sense.
Right, right.
At that point, it's actually Tony Robbins that convinced me. I did business mastery with him, and he went through these. He teaches inside of the business mastery the life cycle of a business and life cycle of an industry. And when he was going through life cycle of an industry, he was giving real estate industry, sales industry example, and he
Hmm.
basically proved to me that real estate sales industry is at stage of what he calls being institutionalized. Business an industry becomes institutionalized. Institutionalizing meaning big corporations taking over. There is
Right.
no free enterprise anymore, or government taking over, either or. And it happens because the industry as a whole didn't make advancement as it should, right? Meaning it didn't adapt with the time. So that's when Zillow is literally institutionalizing real
No,
estate.
absolutely. Zillow is worth $19 billion, and all of the real estate companies combined are worth less than Zillow at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
And
true.
Zillow has done that on the backs of agents, paying them, and it
Yeah.
has also been attempting to disrupt the industry and essentially get rid of us. So there you go.
I have theories. I have theories. You can call it conspiracy theories. That Zillow is behind the whole lawsuit.
Oh,
Like
absolutely. Are you
now,
kidding? Of course
disruption of
they
the
are.
sales industry. If disruption of the sales industry doesn't happen, Zillow loses that progress it was making, right? So because the property prices has gone crazy, right? And some agents are getting business without even having to do the work. Like I mean, 2021, like Zillow lost most money in 2021 because no one was spending money on leads because everyone was buying. So disruption
Mhm.
of sales industry benefits Zillow in a way where no one thinks about it.
Oh,
Um,
clearly the attorneys behind the initial lawsuits, what have you. I'm sure it is Zillow, Trulia, too bad Realtor.com, which was started, by the way, by our real estate organization, National Association of Realtors, a long time ago, was sold off.
I would,
And
yeah, I know, I would kind of like question that, like, I don't think so. But it's not the Zillow. It's not the Realtor.com. It's the Vanguard, the BlackRock, the
Hmm.
Blackstone. Okay, the companies
Yeah.
that hold majority share on these companies, and they also hold majority share in real estate assets.
Yes, absolutely.
And if they don't disrupt the real estate sales industry, and they're competing against emotional buyers, they can. They're they're in a business. They make logical decisions to compete against emotional buyers in the especially residential real estate. They would have no chance. So this whole lawsuit is causing that disruption needed for them to monopolize the real estate holdings. That's how I look at it. It's a theory.
I actually really truly agree with you. And I think every smart real estate agent in the country knows this to be the case, which is again why I started this podcast. Because
Awesome.
the lack of education in the general public around what we do makes particularly millennial and younger buyers think that they can push a button and buy a house. They have
Yeah.
no idea what it is that's involved. And, if you don't know the questions to ask, you don't know the questions to ask. And so
Mhm.
consequently, for example, I'll use the travel industry as a perfect example, actually. There used to be travel agents everywhere you went, and they
Yeah.
were really knowledgeable. They knew all the museums, they knew all the best restaurants, they knew where you could find the best concierge at the best hotel. They knew what the view was going to be at a particular room in a hotel. They
Mhm.
knew all of that information that was
Where to
very,
buy a
very
package, where to
useful.
get a deal, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Expedia came along, which I have heard, and I'm not sure, I have to verify this, was started by the same people that started Zillow,
Wow.
and said our whole stated goal is to disrupt the travel industry, and we're going to remove the middleman so that people don't have to pay all that money to their agent. And 5 years later, you try to find a travel agent. There are no travel agents. There's some excellent ones, and very wealthy people still know to use them. But the reality is that the average, mom and pop travel agency shop that you would see down the street is gone.
It's gone.
And
It's
I think that the same thing might happen to real estate eventually
yeah.
if this sort of thing takes over, because the people that are the consumers don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
They have no idea about legal liability. They have no idea about how someone understands the market so that they can get you a better deal. They have no idea about negotiation. They don't know these things. And because they don't
Yeah.
know these things, they don't care about them. And since they don't care about them, we might go the way of the dodo.
No, for sure. And that's one of the mission that I have with Boss Agents Academy. The reason why we call it Boss Agents is that we need to bring back the notion that real estate agents are business owners. And I think that kind of I don't see that a lot. If I did, I wouldn't have that passion. Is that most agents are taught to go from deal to deal, check to check, kind of like the whole job mindset, right?
Hmm.
They're either relying on the brokerage or their team or their something, right? Or another lead source or something, right? Like they're not, it's not widespread that real estate agents are taught to truly build a business that is predictable, that is profitable, that is efficient, that is effective.
And
Uh,
saleable at the end of their
uh,
careers.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And sellable, right? That's how you know you have a business. If you can't sell it, you don't have a business, right?
correct.
So that's what we are bringing really with Boss Agents Academy. First of all, it's most agents have attraction problems. They have a lead generation problem, right? I mean, we talk to agents all the time. I have, a consultant, coached, and trained over 1,500 agents in the last 4 years. And I found that to be the most common problem. So every real estate agent, as a business owner, and every business too, have that problem, attraction problem, and then the conversion problem, and then the retention problem, right? Is building that portfolio and relationship with people so that way you have return business and you repeat business and referrals. So over time, that business doesn't require you to keep chasing no business.
Right.
Yeah.
Long time ago. I come from a background of theater, and I still direct a lot of theater and write plays and things like that. But I gave up when I was 40, I gave up the idea that I would actually turn it into a business, because in this country it's very hard to make it in the arts. At one point, I had a season of plays going, and I hired a very, very, very uber aggressive ticket sales room manager. And we were getting like insane numbers of people buying tickets. But the following year, they didn't re-up. And I realized that his incredible aggressive methods were intimidating people into buying tickets, but it alienated people. And ultimately, we didn't get the business back again. So repeat business is super important, and white glove care of your customers and your past clients is super, super important.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Yeah, staying in front of and systems allows you to be able to, you can't automate relationships, right? So you definitely have to take the approach in any business, not just real estate, if you want to be in it for a long time. The quality and size of your business is in direct connection with the quality and size of the people that you know, and you have relationship. It kind of like database, but I don't want to call it a database. Like it sounds so icky because they're people, right? So it's the quality and size of the people that you know. And if you don't take a meaningful approach to relationships, you probably won't have those people in your
right,
database. Like you could have them and spam them and think that I'm,
right,
right? But to get their business, to get their trust, to have them feel like they know you, you have to have a personal touch to it. And but you can systemize it, right? You can systemize it, and that's pretty much what we teach inside of the academy. We're all about staying on the trend, using technology. We do a lot with High Level as a platform. It's a CRM and marketing platform. We do a lot with teaching agents magnetic branding, creating irresistible offers for attraction and conversion, and for retention, client service, and also retargeting. Like if you're talking about systems and staying in front of your own people, I would highly recommend agents need to start looking into retargeting ads. So if you have over 1,000 people in your list, you can put them in a custom audience on Google platforms and Meta Business, Facebook Business. On the back end, you can create audiences with that list, and you can run ads to specifically to that list, not everyone in the marketplace. So
right,
when
right. So you're not
your
just spamming
people,
people. Hmm.
yeah, when your people get on these platforms, Google platform, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, every time you get on, they see you on a video, right? And
Right.
they feel like you're everywhere. They feel like, oh my God, your billboards everywhere. So this is the new way, digital billboards, right? To stay in front of people without having a billboard.
Very, very cool. Well, this has been incredible, and you've stayed way longer than the half hour that we originally allotted. I really want to thank you, Syed. You are a really dynamic, amazing individual, and
Thank
I
you.
love your story. I love all immigrant stories, by the way. Immigrants are the backbone of this country, and nobody realizes the incredible contributions. And every single person here who is not Native American is somehow an immigrant.
Yeah,
And I love your story. So
thank
please
you.
let us know how we can contact you and your school. Just
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, you guys can look me up by my name, or you can look me up by Success Broker, or you can just look up Boss Agents Academy. Um, and yeah, would love to contribute in any way I can. Yep.
well, what a pleasurable time this has been. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you. And we'll be back soon. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Realizations Podcast. I hope our conversation has shed light on the true essence of real estate and the people behind it. As we wrap up, I want to extend my gratitude to our listeners for their support and engagement. Your feedback drives the heart of this podcast, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing to the Realizations Podcast and leaving a review. Your support helps us reach more listeners and spread our message of positivity in the real estate industry. Until next time, remember to keep an open mind, embrace empathy, and always seek the good in every situation. I'm Andrea Gordon, signing off from Realizations. See you next time.